are rising very rapidly and are very high already. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it's very, very high.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if you don't have access to like local institutions and you want to say have access to let's say that because even if you're living in like some remote place in India, as long as you have access to the internet, you would theoretically be able to, you could do online MIT courses. You could watch a computer science lecture from MIT on YouTube. You could do whatever.
Yeah.
But the main problem is that you cannot verify whether or not people have actually absorbed that information or whether or not they can actually perform whatever it is that they've studied, if you get me.
Right. Yeah.
But so the number one use case for blockchain there is that you would be able to, let's say that you're MIT and it could be whatever university. MIT is obviously something very prestigious, but let's say you provide an online course to the world, and you could integrate some of that on a blockchain, and then people who've done the assignments or who've participated actively in whatever online course there is or something, you could be able to verify that on the ledger to actually ensure that like the credentials of whatever you've studied could be verified. And that's like that would be like the major breakthrough that you could implement with blockchain technology in education. I think that's like the main key point.
Yeah.
But obviously you have a lot of, one thing is like, I think you mentioned that as well, about like scalability. How would you scale it up? Or like how would you even begin to like, because it's a very like broad word, blockchain, right? It's like
yeah, it really is.
It's it's a very it's it's a buzzword. But there is an actual use case in education. But in order for people to like understand how you would like how would you even receive those credentials? Like how do people actually use a blockchain? How do you manage your private keys? Like how would the information be stored? Would your credentials be like on a public ledger, or how would it?
Yeah.
There are some like scalability issues, right? Where it's like it might be hard to actually implement it into
what I'm also questioning is like could it even be private in the sense that we know it? Like could you even because the whole idea is that you don't there's no centralized, like no one's holding the information, or the governance thing, like traditionally that's the whole idea, the liberation, no? But then would it be public, as you say? Would it be a public ledger? Would you then just create maybe it wouldn't be a private educational system or ecosystem, for communities, but rather for everyone, but then mostly used by these distant communities.
Yeah, and that's the double-edged sword, right? Because you see the same problems within like the healthcare industry, where you could do an argument for implementing blockchain technology there as well.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like it's like a seesaw, where like you can't both have transparency and like public records in that sense being transparent, right? You're gonna have to fix that. It works with money in a very different way, where it's like, it's okay that you can see how much money someone has if you don't know who it is. And you could do the same argument with like education, that even though the ledger might be, let's say, public, but it would be much easier to narrow down like on the ledger, like who that ID might belong to.
Yeah.
Right, if it's with regards to education, or you can see whatever. Yeah. And then obviously you'd also have to figure out like how, like, which blockchain are we gonna use? Like, what happens to your whatever credentials if that blockchain doesn't or ceases to exist anymore, if no one's willing to actually like utilize the blockchain itself?
Yeah.
And yeah, you also have like, yeah, as you mentioned, like consensus mechanisms. Which would you, how would you manage that? Could you, if it's a very small blockchain that's utilizing proof of work, for example, how would you mitigate that someone could like take over a network or like gain access to